Imagine you're standing in a pitch-black room. You reach out and feel something cold, hard, and sharp. Your mind instantly screams, "Knife!" But as the lights flicker on, you realize it's just a piece of decorative glass. In that split second of darkness, your reality was a lie. How do you actually know that what you know is true? In 13th century India, a philosopher named Gangeśa Upādhyāya looked at the world and saw a crisis of certainty. While others were debating the nature of God or the soul, Gangeśa realized that none of those debates mattered if we couldn't trust the very tools of our perception. He wrote the Tattvacintāmaṇi, the jewel of reflection on reality, not to tell us what to think, but to dismantle how we think. He is the father of Navya-Nyāya, a school of new logic, so sharp it influenced every field of Indian science for the next 700 years. Gangeśa begins with a deceptively simple question. What is Brahma? True knowledge. Most people think truth is just the way things are. But Gangeśa was a hunter of precision. He argued that truth isn't a thing, it's a relationship. Think of it like this. You see a silver coin on the ground. If it is a silver coin, your knowledge is true. But if it's actually a shiny piece of tin, your knowledge is false, even though the experience felt exactly the same. Gangeśa's genius was in defining truth as knowledge that attributes a property to an object which actually possesses that property. It sounds academic, but it's a psychological thriller. It means your mind is constantly painting the world, and most of the time, we're using the wrong colors. Now here is where it gets dark. The Pramanyavada, the section of the book we're diving into, tackles the most dangerous problem in philosophy. There are two warring factions in Gangeśa's world. On one side, the internalists, Svata Pramanya, claim that when you know something, you immediately know it's true. Light reveals itself. You don't need a second light to see the sun. But Gangeśa and the Nyaya school say, not so fast. They represent the externalists, Parata Pramanya. They argue that knowledge doesn't come with a certified true stamp. Every piece of information we receive is neutral until it is verified by something else, usually successful action. You don't know the water is real until it actually quenches your thirst. Think about the weight of that. If Gangeśa is right, we are living in a permanent state of pending reality. We are walking through a fog of probability, constantly testing our perceptions against the world to see if they hold up. We aren't masters of truth. We are investigators in a case that never ends. But Gangeśa's critics found a fatal flaw in his logic. They asked, if every piece of knowledge needs a second piece of knowledge to verify it, then doesn't that second piece need a third, and the third a fourth? If Gangeśa is right, are we trapped in an infinite loop where nothing can ever be truly proven? Or did he find a way to break the cycle?
Imagine you're in a courtroom. A witness identifies a suspect. You ask, how do we know the witness is telling the truth? So, you bring in a second witness to verify the first. But then, who verifies the second? You bring a third, a fourth, a thousandth. If this chain never ends, does the truth even exist? This is the infinite regress, the terrifying logical abyss that Gangeśa Upādhyāya had to stare into. Last time, we learned that Gangeśa believed knowledge isn't born with a truth guarantee. He belonged to the Nyaya school, which argued for Parata Pramanya, the idea that validity comes from the outside. But his rivals, the Mimamsakas, were laughing. They argued that if you need a second thought to verify the first, you'll be stuck in a loop of madness forever. If knowledge A needs knowledge B, and knowledge B needs knowledge C, you will die of old age before you can ever be sure that the glass of water in front of you is actually real. They argued that truth must be self-evident, or else the human mind would simply freeze. Gangeśa didn't flinch. In the Pramanyavada, he crafts a brilliant psychological escape hatch. He argues that we don't always need to verify everything. Think about your daily life. When you see your front door, do you stop to perform a logical proof that the door exists? No, you just open it. Gangeśa explains that in familiar situations, we have habitual certainty. Our doubt doesn't even wake up. But, and this is the cinematic twist, the capacity for doubt is always there. The infinite regress only happens if you are a robot. Gangeśa argues that humans are practical. We stop the chain of why the moment we reach a point of successful activity, pravritti. If the water quenches your thirst, the internal logic chain snaps shut. The result is the proof. To understand truth, Gangeśa realized he had to study its shadow, the illusion. He analyzes why we see a snake in a coiled rope. He calls this anyathakyati, misapprehension. He explains it like a glitch in a movie's editing room. You see the shape of the rope, the this. But your memory interjects with the image of a snake from a past experience. Your mind pastes the snake onto the rope. It's not that the snake is nothingness. The snake is real and the rope is real. But they are meeting in the wrong place at the wrong time. Error for Gangeśa is a geographical mistake of the mind. This means our entire lived experience is a construction built on memories and sensory inputs that might be misaligned. Gangeśa is telling us that the eye who perceives the world is constantly juggling shadows. We think we are seeing reality, but we are actually seeing a composite of what is there and what we expect to be there. We are all walking directors of our own slightly hallucinated movies. But if our minds can paste a snake onto a rope so easily, how can we ever trust our most profound thoughts? If our concept of the self or God or love is just another case of the mind pasting the wrong image onto the wrong object. Gangeśa is about to introduce his most powerful tool, the new logic, to strip away these illusions. But to use it, we have to learn how to speak a language that the mind cannot lie to. Part 3. The language of the gods, the secret code of Navya-Nyāya. If I tell you, the blue pot is on the table, you think you understand me. But Gangeśa would argue that your understanding is dangerously blurry. Does on mean the pot is touching the table? Does it mean it's hovering an inch above it? Is the blueness a part of the pot or just a temporary visitor? To find the truth, Gangeśa realized he had to invent a new language. A logical code so precise it makes modern computer programming look like child's play. Gangeśa's world was one of heated debates, but he noticed a recurring tragedy. Most philosophers were just shouting past each other because human language is messy. Words are leaky buckets. They carry emotions, cultural baggage, and vague definitions. He realized that if we want to capture the tattva, the true essence of reality, we need to stop talking like poets and start thinking like architects. This was the birth of Navya-Nyāya, the new logic. It wasn't just a philosophy. It was a surgical tool designed to cut through the fog of the mind. Gangeśa introduced concepts that sound like science fiction, avachadakata, limitorship. Let's simplify his secret code. Instead of saying, there is no pot on the table, Gangeśa says, there is an absence, the countercorrelate of which is limited by potness and defined by a relation of contact with the table. Why the complexity? Because it eliminates every possible shadow of doubt. By defining the limiter, the exact boundary of an idea, he prevents the mind from pasting wrong images onto reality. He forces the thinker to define the exact relationship between an object and its attributes. It's like high-definition 8K resolution for human thought. For the first time in history, Indian logic wasn't just describing the world. It was mapping the DNA of our perceptions. One of Gangeśa's most mind-bending contributions is his analysis of absence, abhava. Imagine you're looking for your keys. You look at the empty table. Most people would say they see nothing. Gangeśa says, no. you are perceiving a very specific presence of absence. He argues that an absence is a real, existing thing that your mind interacts with. When you see that the keys are not there, your mind is performing a complex, logical operation. You are comparing a memory image of the keys with the present reality of the table. If they don't match, you perceive the absence. This means our world is not just made of things. It's built out of the gaps between things. This is where Gangeśa connects to our modern world. Tech historians have noted that Navya-Nyāya's technical language is strikingly similar to modern formal logic and computer science. Gangeśa was essentially trying to build a universal grammar of the universe. He believed that if we could map out these logical relations perfectly, we could solve every human conflict, every scientific mystery, and every existential crisis. If we speak correctly, we think correctly. If we think correctly, we live in the truth. But there was one final boss Gangeśa had to face. If everything is defined by these cold, logical relations, what happens to the human heart? What happens to the self? In the next part, we see Gangeśa take his logical scalpel to the most mysterious concept of all, inference. How do we know the future by looking at the past? And is our logic a bridge to reality or just a very beautiful cage? Part 4, The Fire on the Mountain, the Mystery of Inference. You're walking in a dense forest. High above a distant peak, you see a thick, dark plume of smoke rising into the sky. You haven't seen the fire. You haven't felt the heat. Yet, you know, with absolute unshakable certainty, that the mountain is burning. How? You've just performed an act of anumana, or inference. To Gangeśa, this wasn't just a mental trick, it was a bridge across the impossible. In the Tattvacintāmaṇi, Gangeśa devotes an entire section to inference. He realized that most of what we call knowledge isn't what we see right in front of our eyes. It's what we conclude about the things we cannot see. But there's a danger here. Inference is where the mind is most likely to trip and fall into a trap. We see a shadow and think it's a monster. We see a flash and think it's a diamond. Gangeśa wanted to build a logical fortress so strong that no false conclusion could ever break in. Gangeśa refined a 5-step process to ensure an inference is iron-clad. It's like a legal trial for your own thoughts. The proposition, you state the claim, there is fire on that mountain. The reason, you cite the evidence. Because there is smoke. The example, you provide a universal rule. Wherever there is smoke, there is fire, like in a kitchen hearth. The application, you connect the rule to the current moment. This mountain has smoke that is inseparable from fire. The conclusion, the final verdict. Therefore, there is fire on that mountain. It sounds simple, but Gangeśa's obsession was with step 3, the vyapti. This is the invariable concomitance. It's the invisible glue that binds smoke to fire. Gangeśa spent hundreds of pages asking, how can we be 100% sure that smoke always means fire? What if there's a type of smoke we haven't discovered yet that comes from ice?
This is where the script turns into a psychological thriller. Gangeśa introduces the hetva-baza, the fallacies. These are the glitches in our logic. Imagine you say, the lake is on fire because it has smoke, but the smoke is actually just morning mist. Your logic looks right, but your reason is unproven. Gangeśa identifies 5 ways our logic can betray us. Sometimes our evidence is too narrow. Sometimes it's too broad. Sometimes it's flat out contradicted by something else we know. Gangeśa warns us. The mind is a master of pseudo-logic. It can make the most ridiculous delusions feel like mathematical truths. Why does this matter to us today? Because we live in an age of inferred realities. We look at a headline and infer an entire political conspiracy. We see a read receipt on a text and infer a betrayal. Gangeśa is the ancient voice telling us to slow down. He's asking, what is your vyapti? Is your evidence truly inseparable from your conclusion? Or are you just pasting a fire onto a mountain of mist? He's teaching us that logic isn't just about winning debates. It's about the integrity of our own souls. Gangeśa has mapped out perception and inference, but there is one final frontier. A source of knowledge that doesn't come from our eyes and doesn't come from our logic. It comes from the voices of others. How do we know who to trust? In a world of fake news and ancient scriptures, how do we distinguish the word of a sage from the lie of a charlatan? Part 5. The power of the word, the logic of trust. If a stranger runs up to you and screams, "The bridge is out!" do you stop to check for smoke? Do you wait to see the broken wood with your own eyes? No, you stop. In that moment, you have accepted a truth that didn't come from your senses or your logic. It came from a voice. This is Shabda, the philosophy of testimony. But here's the terrifying part. How do you know the stranger isn't a liar? Gangeśa realized that the vast majority of our world is built on things we haven't personally verified. You haven't seen the atoms in your body. You haven't seen the edge of the galaxy. You haven't even seen your own birth. We are all living on borrowed truth. In the Shabdakanda section of his work, Gangeśa asks, when does a sequence of sounds stop being mere noise and start being knowledge? To him, a sentence isn't just words, it's a psychological event that can change your reality. Gangeśa argues that for a sentence to deliver truth, it must pass through 4 logical locks. If even one fails, the information is dead. Expectancy, akanksha, words must need each other. If I just say cow, water, tree, your mind stays hungry. The words don't connect. Truth requires a complete structure, consistency, yogyata. This is the reality check. If I say, he is wetting the ground with fire, the sentence is grammatically perfect, but logically impossible. Fire doesn't wet. Your mind rejects it instantly because the properties don't match. Proximity, sannidhi, time is a factor. If I say, bring today and the water tomorrow, the bridge of meaning is broken. Truth must be immediate. Intention, tatparya. This is the most human lock. Words are ambiguous. If I say Saindava, it could mean salt or it could mean horse. To find the truth, you must look at the context. Are we at a dinner table or a battlefield? But even if a sentence is perfect, Gangeśa warns us about the apta, the trustworthy speaker. He defines a speaker of truth as someone who knows the truth, desires to communicate that truth accurately, has no reason to deceive. In our modern world of deep fakes, algorithms, and biased media, Gangeśa's warning is chillingly relevant. We are constantly absorbing sentences, but are we checking the source? For Gangeśa, if the speaker is flawed, the knowledge is poisoned at the root. This was Gangeśa's revolution. He took the sacred scriptures of his time and subjected them to the same brutal logical tests as a common man's dinner request. He argued that even the most ancient truths must be linguistically and logically sound. He moved us from a world of blind faith to a world of logical verification. He didn't want us to believe because we were told to. He wanted us to believe because the structure of the language itself made truth inevitable. We have now mastered perception, inference, and the word. Gangeśa has given us the ultimate toolkit to analyze the world. But there is a final, darker question waiting in the shadows. If we can analyze the world so perfectly, what happens when we turn that logic on ourselves? If the self is the one doing the thinking, can the self ever truly be the object of its own logic?